Hi all, Randy Green here and welcome to another whole Future Humanities update. It's going to be short and sweet. If you say 20 minutes are short and sweet, perhaps even less than that. Okay, so a little bit of changes to this YouTube channel. Here I will bring the collective information that is on what we could say societal reality field level concerning governance, economics, technology, sciences, and what have you. And the more individual level of these processes and how we can accommodate to this and adapt and what the challenges are as far as it is possible to touch ground with that on a general level. Even though it's individually tailored for information as in our everyday life, trying to reach and catch the positive timelines of the future. The information that is on that level will be given in the whole future timelines work for which you can purchase on my website, the Whole Academy. I will put a link below. So I'm dividing it into two. For now, as far as with the whole Future Humanities YouTube channel that you are currently on, it has been a mix of a lot of things, and I'm beginning to divide it into boxes as I always do, and then it ends up being mixed again. But this time things are changing because we are at the end of the 3-9 pillar activation and cleanup. I talk a little bit about that in other levels of my material, including the whole philosophy book, the new grand cycle course material, the transition science course material, the solar transition science material. So it's all in the whole academy course material for those of you who want to understand the sciences and what you are to do and how it will affect you on a personal level. So now we move into, okay, what are the updates that are similar to, it's not news per se, because news has a tendency, people hear the news and they forget it. It's just another level of information that you kind of say, what can I use that for, right? So all the information that is here has an impact on your everyday life. It's not just something that's happening on the other side of the planet or in another reality field or other dimensional. This is where the timelines of the future are now beginning to be locked in to our reality field. In the 4 videos Josh and I did together on the reality program, I hinted towards that, and including in Personal History Matters. These videos are now part of the whole future timeline work podcast series that you will have to pay for to get access to. And I have to do it that way. I'm sorry, people. I would have loved to give it all for free. I focused on doing the course material, which people are not buying. I would love to give it all for free, which I began in 2013, trying to do it donation-based, but nobody's donating. And I have to pay my bills, people. I have to pay my bills. So this is for those of you who are in the deep end of what's going on. Many of you got the information already, so you don't really need my information whatsoever. So in that, I've been thinking about, okay, what is the information that I'm pretty sure you're not getting as downloads because you are not yet in the 511 pillar and the different groups of civilizations that used to participate in that technological level of our reality. Not that I'm going to go all in technologically wise, but there are the administrative levels, the reality field program levels, as well as what we call the planetary governance level and the societal level, as in kind of what's the highest good of the many, what is the right political governance in terms of the well-being of all living life forms on our planet. That's the 410 that unfortunately were taken over by the regress races and turned into the world that we have now. And according to what they found was the best solution for them, not for us. And then we have the 511 pillar that goes into the technological fifth dimensional code sequences, reality field, governance, which I talk about both in the whole philosophy book as well as in the template science course material, and then the 612 pillar that goes with the council level. And since I have access to these levels, it would be more fruitful here on this YouTube channel to give you insights on some of these dynamics that are unfolding there. Of course, it is not what we could say overly speaking for the highest good of the many. It has been transformed into the different groups that are here. The 410, as I said, are the regress colonizing races. The 511 has unfortunately been taken over by the military project. New Atlantis, New Earth collaborations and coalitions, and the 612 planetary level, most of it is what we could say, it's still a joint forum of the different groups that are present here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's for the highest good of humanity. It means that's for the highest good of the groups, the greater good of the groups that are present in our solar system and what they are trying to do together. So for me, it's like the UN or NATO or something like that, which we can say, well, is it really, what's the purpose of it? What's the political ideology behind this? What is it that they want to achieve? What is the greater value system behind that? What's the greater goal of what they're trying to achieve? Why they're making these agreements? Like we know from the COP28 that was supposed to assist us in some of the issues on the whole fossil fuel, which were held in Abu Dhabi, sorry about that. And in that was... I don't need to say more about that one. You read the news, you know what that's about. So what is it that I want to bring forth here today that is on a general level in a short, sweet update? So just so you know that if you want to get the more personal oriented as in everyday life, your progression work, your clearing work, your timeline work, that's the whole Academy course material. You will go there, buy the courses, and get yourself going on that level of what you need to do in the years to come to be able to do the solar transition, as I have suggested a pathway for those of you who are doing the work. There are plenty others out there. Choose between the buffet of what matches your energy system and follow the path that you find most fruitacious and prosperous for you to do the transition within. Okay. And as I said, the personal history determines that, as well as your genetic composition. So you are on the code streams, you're on the highway that matches your energy system. And if you don't like that highway, learn to do the exit, figure out how to administer your vessel, your energy system, and your architecture to be able to recode and reconfigure yourself to follow a path that perhaps is more in alignment with your original composition and not the one you got administered after the colonization. With that said, what do I want to talk about in this update and where do I want to go with the whole future humanities? It's been in the making all along. I've just been waiting for the information to be released. When are information released? When the groups that are administering our reality field, quote unquote, the controllers, the administrators, and whomever are part of the other worldly agendas that are not really pro-humanity, but in various ways perhaps are not. When they are done with a certain segment of reality and they are pushing it into the decay cycles, then I'm allowed to reveal the information. That means literally like we have been kept in the dark, literally, for on this topic. I've known it since 2017, but it's this kind of, here you get the downloads, you get the information, but if you reveal it, we smack you. So now they won't smack me anymore because now they're moving on. And this is just kind of old news. This is historical in as they call it. We have had, I think it began, or yes, I know it began. It's always this kind of gliding, slow movement when Josh and I did on the Mandala effect. That's because the event program is now outdated and no longer in place. So then I couldn't talk about it. And the next type of program are being put in. This one affects the fifth dimension specifically, and that goes with the internet, it goes with the AI cubes, and it goes with the different types of old Atlantean technology that are now being taken down. Back in the 50s, when we had different groups coming in, the Zetas and the other groups from the Orion conglomerate, they came in by trading different forms of technologies, old crafts, and what have you, to different groups within what we could call both the breakaway civilizations. Richard Dolan talks about that, as well as some of the more covertly hidden military projects. Stephen Greer talks about that. Richard Dolan does that too, but we can say Richard Dolan is the prominent figure in the breakaway civilizations, and Stephen Greer is more in what we call the covert military projects and operations, and what that means and what the implications have been of that. Where they have gone with this information, that's their, wherever they are going. I'm not saying I'm agreeing with them. I'm just saying this is other resources that give this type of information. Okay, since I'm under the limitation of short update, the technology that the different secret military groups, these are some of the ones that ends up into the future timelines that doesn't go so well, because they got genetics and technology and crafts from the Orion conglomerate, and the Orion conglomerate via the android Zeta Grace that are connected to Japan, the Japan Brotherhood, by the way, just so you get that information in there as well. Just take it, it's a briefing, just get the information, that's just how it is. No further discussions on that one. They got this type of technology in, and it was seeded into different groups inside humanity, within the brotherhoods, as well as within different types of military operations, of which we know the Magic 12, which are founded in brotherhoods, Freemasonry and onwards and so forth within the American continent, and other groups in Australia, as well as some of them in France and other places. And the Japanese Brotherhood got that as well. They got this technology, including the genetic modification programs that would allow humans within these military projects to operate these reverse engineered crafts. They were based upon Pleiadian technology, and they were based upon Pleiadian genetics, which of course the Orion conglomerate had got in unlawful ways, dating back to the Pleiadian Rhino Wars, which they, of course, didn't say. These Pleiadian genetics were re-engineered to be able to be administered by the Orions. If you are to take original genetics from a different civilization and you are trying to adapt it into your type of civilization so that your genetic structure will be in alignment with the craft, because these crafts are multidimensional and they are holographic, which means they tie into the genetic composition of the operator. So if the operator is not from that system, it's kind of code locked. If that operator is not from the Pleiadian system, well, then it has to be reverse engineered. And how did they reverse engineer it? In unlawful, horrible ways with the Pleiadians they captured in the Orion Pleiadian Wars. And that's a shit show I don't want to go into. But these Pleiadian genetics that were now under the control of the Orion configuration, adapted via multiple genetic modification programs that were horror shows, not nice little in-lab things. Because to alter what we call a benevolent race into a reversed engineered or inverted race, you have to do some really damage to the genetic architecture, which I know of because these things have been, I've been looking into that. I unfortunately came in contact with that when I was in Australia, where I was shown some of these projects and literally experienced it, being around people that had genetics from these groups and undergone unknowingly these programs. So that's another story. That's for the information that I will put somewhere else. But putting that already here, it easily, when we talk about these reversed engineers programs, it easily turns very unpleasant. And I'm trying to keep it in a lighter tone here so that we understand, okay, this is not for children. This is not information that should be given on YouTube. Hence, I want to put this deeper implication, if I even want to go into this, because the moment you connect to things, when you are multidimensional, you also connect to the energy, you connect to the code, and by that you open up the gateway, you open up the door to that level of information, and that's not always a good place to go. But I've been there, I've seen it, it's been part of my journey and my learning lessons from as I got myself unentangled from the things I experienced in Australia. Because once you become multidimensional, I talk about that in the transition sciences, once you reach the 6-dimensional level, you literally begin to imprint from your surroundings. So you come in contact with it. And that's how they took out the benevolent races, seeding in these different groups that were what we could call carriers of a gene code that then shed off a specific type of gene structure that then led to the modification of the original Pleiadian genetic structure. Let's just put it that way in a nicer version. once that happened, and how did they did the shedding and that kind of imprinting? Well, we had the first group that were captured undergoing the modification, let's just put it in a nice way, and then they sent them back having the altered gene code, and then literally infiltrated the gene code sequences on a collector level in the Pleiadian system, and with that literally led the Pleiadian system to its downfall in its original configuration. Who is living now in the Pleiadian system are what I call the Rostelian Pleiadians, and they are offspring descendants of these genetically modified, now linked up to the regressed and inverted races systems, and has in essence become part of these systems. Because of that, then they could trade this type of technology into our system, and the military projects that took these genetics to be able to operate these crafts began creating groups within the military projects that had the Pleiadian gene code, and then began expediting it into second generation, third generation in what we call typically military projects, where the family members were part of these projects and their offspring would then carry this gene code. They later on became some of the crystal children and the indigo children and some of these different groups. Unfortunately, the gene code they had were dual. They had the Pleiadian interface system that were giving what we would call a high vibration that seemed as light coding, and then they had the backdoor that were Orion genetics that could link them up to the Orion agenda, and that backdoor was not told to the military project. And that's why the future humanities have come back to alter that and shut that down. It still had to play out. We had that play out between 2017 and the link up to the Dark Galactic Core, the whole plot that we're going with that one. And we ran through that. We ran through that between 2017 and 2022. You can connect the dots on that one. Interfered with by the Niburians and some of the parallel universal matrix races that were doing their modification programs to avoid us all to be dragged and sucked into the dark Earth configuration. Black Earth configuration, Black Sun configuration, third cycle, falling Atlantean timelines. Okay, so shutting that one down. So what's happening now is, and what they got alongside with that technology, in the first generation of micro and nanochips, back then chips in general in the 1950s, later on developed into microchips, later on developed into nanochips that are part of quite a lot of the technology we have, computers, cars, iPhones, what have you. These chips are now being changed into a new generation because the old generation were created out of what we call a reverse engineering of the type of technology of alien crafts put into reverse engineers and put into chip technology that were used in cars. For instance, Subaru in Japan is a car brand that used some of the first generation of this. They are now changing it all, including the later generations and new types of chips that will come. Why is that important? Because that change, that transition into the new type of nanochips that will run on 6G, that will run on AI, that will run on quantum computers are now being uploaded. The code systems are being uploaded into the web, including into the holographic network, including into the background sciences and as well as technology, as well as cube technology that currently are running our computers and iPhones and cars and what have you. And because they're now putting in the next generation, of which I don't know what the configuration is, because that's the new step that is not revealed, but it is crystalline and it is more in alignment with Syrian B type of technology, but in a variation I cannot reveal yet. And that means that technology that we are now having access to will have some weird glitches, which you will see. And I've seen it quite a lot being unfolded today and already back on the 21st, where Josh and I were spotting anomalies on the sky and onward and so forth. So with that said, I've now here giving that little bit of update as a kind of complete reconfiguration of the 5 fifth-dimensional cubes, trying to take them off the timelines that would have led to the falling Atlantis timelines, including the recalibration of the military projects that have the gene code sequence of the Pleiadian reversed engineered type of genetics, all together to try and exclude and weed out that type of Pleiadian genetics that had the Orion backdoor. So that's the next step of what is going on in our reality field. And if that is a success, then they can shut down some of these timelines of the past that goes into the dark Atlantean code systems, and with that begin to upgrade and hopefully transfer some of these different types of projects and different types of age groups into a new genetic structure. What that is, I don't know. That's not part of the information. The information is we're leaving behind what was and what we've been dealing with, because that leads to no futures at all for any of us. We've done that run through, did not work, did not lead to the outcome we wanted. We were tricked. We bought something, we got involved in something that was not fruitous for humanity on the on the big scale, on the grand scale of things. And we're now changing our ways and trying to link up to other types of code streams that will lead into other bridges and other civilizations that are also connected to the fifth dimension. So that will change some of the prospected ideas of what the future is, what the fifth dimension is, and how we work connectively to the fifth dimension that will link up to our reality field via the event program. But that type of fifth dimensional links into the parallel universal matrix races, and they are technically an offshoot of the Sirian B, so there's a crossover there. Anyway, so just putting this one in, there are, if you want to say, oh, I want to ask questions to this, I want to know more, what are the details, what do you know about this? I don't know much other than this. This is a download, this is a kind of news, this is the update, like the reporter that are just saying, this is the information, this is what my research tells me, this is what the download is about. But aside from that, we must wait for the next legs of this information. It might take months before we circle back, before the next part of that information, before the next level of the pattern reveals itself and what that means for us. If you want to know how patterns work inside the reality program, I got course material on that as well on the HAL Academy website, both the Changemaker material as well as new reality programs, as well as how these alien technologies work as they reconfigure the reality settings, and with that creates different versions of reality from where they can play in different types of alien technology, which has been and is completely normal inside all advanced civilization, including our solar system. It's the original configuration. That was the solar system pillar project, of which I have been part of a very, very long time ago. Of course, completely taken over, reconfigured, and altered into being able to hold and but connect to the parallel systems that were not part of the Pillar Project to begin with. But that's history. I talked about that in some of my other podcasts. For those of you who just jumped into this one, as always, I am building on previous material. I'm building on the material of the HAL Academy. I'm building upon all of the other podcasts that I have put in this Whole Future Humanities channel. So for those of you who need a catch up, begin from the oldest videos and work your way through. And for those of you who've done it already, sometimes go back and listen to some of the older information, because there's a lot of information in each one of my podcasts, and there's a lot for us to know. There's a lot for us to know. Becoming an advanced civilization in the future is not just something about listening to this 5 minutes a day and then you're good to go. This is about a long transition journey where we change everything we are, from the way we think to the way we feel to the way we operate to the way we perceive reality and to the way we handle ourselves as energetic beings. With that one said, I almost managed it for 20 minutes. Take care until next time. Thank you.